John, we can hear you. You sound great. All right, anybody? I just want to make sure the audio is good. Let's see. Nice. All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, Yasmin said you sound great. All right, way to follow directions. Okay, so here we go. So we're going to be talking about financial aid. We're going to jump in so we can finish on time. And I'm going to show you how you guys can ask questions along the way and give you some information and give you contact information, because maybe you wake up Monday morning and say, oh, there was this question I really wanted to ask and I didn't ask it. So we're just gonna go ahead and get going. Now I'm going to lose the video portion here so you guys can focus on because I think it's kind of distracting. So I'm going to stop the video and we're going to proceed. All right, here we go. So here's the deal for today. We want to talk about preparing for college. Now, I know that not all of you are high school seniors, so but you know what? You can always be thinking about college and preparing for college. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to give you an overview of financial aid, and most importantly, we're going to try to answer your questions. Now, if you have questions today, you can type them into the chat, and you can type them in English or también en español, da igual, okay? So either one works in the chat feature, English or Spanish, and we will do our best to answer those on the fly. So this is the Q&A box. So today we don't have a Q&A box, but we're going to use the chat. So like I said, if you have questions, we have a couple people from CSAC standing by, and honestly, they're not doing anything right now. It's crazy. They got their feet up on the desk. They're watching, I don't know what they're watching, Netflix or eating chocolate. Come on, ask some questions, please. Keep them busy, use the chat feature. And now the other thing is, and we'll make sure that you get this information, when you wake up on Monday morning and you say, oh, you know what? I really wanted to know something and I forgot to ask, or I didn't want to ask. You can contact us at the California Student Aid Commission at this email and using this phone number. So now would be a great time to pull out your phones. I was going to say write it down, but you guys don't write anything down. So pull out your phone, take a picture so you have this information and you know who to contact, right? All right, so I'm going to leave it up here for 5 more seconds. Click, 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 click. All right, here we go. So first of all, why go to college? You know, it's crazy that sometimes it's crazy to me that we have to even ask that question, but there's so many compelling reasons to go to college. Now, a lot of people go, yeah, you can make more money, you can get a better job. And that's true. That's part of it. You can earn more money. In fact, a lot of studies say over the course of, your working career, you can earn up to $1 million more with a college degree. So that's pretty good incentive. But above and beyond that, there's just so many other great things about going to college. You're going to make fantastic friends that you have for the rest of your life, right? You're going to give yourself the opportunity to work in a number of different fields. You're going to learn things that you wouldn't have learned otherwise. And if you're curious and you like to learn, college is awesome. Sometimes college even they have exchange programs. So you can go to another country. I lived in Spain for a long time. It was fantastic. So you have a lot of different opportunities with college. Not just money, a lot of other things that are important. You have potential, let's exceed your potential, and let's plan on going to college. So we're going to start with, it's never too early. And now I'm talking to middle schoolers. I don't know if there's any middle schoolers on here, but I'm going to guess that there are a few. So if you're in middle school and you're saying, what the heck, John, I'm trying to figure out what to take for lunch. I'm trying to get through this, my 7th grade Spanish. So, but if you're a middle schooler, there's some things you can do right now. So the thing you can do is to get ready is to have really good study habits, to read like crazy, and not just for school, just read, try to get interested in reading whatever you like. Do a lot of extracurricular things. Right now I know it's difficult because of COVID. It's more than difficult, right? But you can still join clubs, you can learn another language, you can volunteer. When we start going back to school, you can take part in drama, sports, lots of things. And bug your teachers. Say, hey, I know it's early, but I'm thinking about going to college. What advice do you have? Talk to your parents, talk to your counselors. But remember, middle school is not the time to stress about college, right? Don't stress about college. Middle school is a time to really to get primed and ready so you can be successful in high school, which is the logical step. All right, so if you're in ninth grade, it's really important. This is where you really have to kind of bear down and focus on your grades, the classes that you're taking. Again, read, volunteer, and start kind of thinking about what it is you want to do. A lot of people don't know. In fact, most people don't know. But you can meet with your high school counselor and say, here are the things that I'm interested in. Some people know very early on what it is they want to do. So here's some advice for freshmen. After that, grades become really important. For state financial aid, we look at your sophomore and junior year grades. That's where we get the GPA that we use. When you're a junior, that's a fantastic time to visit college campuses. And again, volunteer, the grades are everything. Make sure you ask, be pesky, talk to your counselor, make an appointment to talk to your counselor, talk about colleges, talk about options. When they have college days, career days, go to those. If they have any kind of events where a lot of colleges are present, those are fantastic because you can walk around and ask a lot of questions. Remember that when you're a senior, that's when you're going to actually do an application for financial aid, not before. So if you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, you don't have to worry about filling out a FAFSA or a California Dream Act application. That's only your senior year. So we talk a lot about financial aid and people go, yeah, financial aid, what exactly is that? Well, that's a good question because financial aid comes from all over the place. There's federal aid, there's state aid, there's institutional aid, which means that's money directly from the college. There's other kinds of aid that's available. There are private scholarships, there's loans, obviously, there's work study programs. So there's all of these different things, and they're all considered financial aid. And you want to make sure that you have the opportunity to get as many as you can possibly get. So how much money can you get to go to college? Well, let's just start by looking at federal aid. So this is just, you may have heard of Pell Grants, maybe not, but Pell Grant is federal aid. It's money you don't have to pay back. It's money you can use for college. And the Pell Grants can be over $6,000, right? So that's important. You can get work study. If you're a high school senior and you filled out, hopefully you all have filled out your application because March 2nd was the deadline. If you haven't done it yet, you should still do it. But you can check on the box that you're interested in work study. You can also get loans through the federal government, and there's different kinds of loans. Now, state aid. So state aid is really important, especially for our undocumented students, because unfortunately, undocumented students can't get federal aid. But if you're an undocumented student, you can get all kinds of state aid and institutional aid. So that would be typically people who are filling out the California Dream Act application. And I'll talk more about that in just a second, right? So these are Cal Grants. Cal Grants, what you need to know about Cal Grants is this. Cal Grants are free money for college. It's money that you do not have to pay back. And typically your Cal Grant is the biggest amount of money you'll get in terms of financial aid. So you really want to make sure that you're applying and you're doing everything you can to get a Cal Grant. So that would mean applying on time and having a pretty good GPA. This is how much you can get in state aid. So at a UC, over $12,000, at a CSU, almost $6,000, at a community college, $1,656, at a private school, over $9,000. And if you take a vocational or technical or occupational kind of course, either at a community college or at a private, at a private nonprofit school, you can get money as well. Now we have other programs above and beyond what our typical Cal Grants are. So maybe you say, I think my family makes a little bit too much money to get a Cal Grant. I think we're over the income ceiling. Well, first of all, you should always apply, regardless of how much money your family makes or doesn't make. You should always apply. The middle class scholarship is for students whose families have a little bit higher income. And if you're going to a UC or a CSU, you can get up to 40% of your tuition. You don't have to do anything extra. You don't have to do anything special. You'll automatically be considered for that if you qualify, but you have to go to a UC or a CSU. Okay, so if you don't get a Cal grant, you could be considered for middle class scholarship. Chafee grant, if any of you are foster youth or former foster youth, there's another grant that's very specific for you. And that grant is up to $5,000 a year. It is a separate application. So you want to make sure that you're, applying with this grant. If you have any questions about this, you should definitely contact us. But if you were in foster care or a ward of the court for at least one day between the ages of 16 and 18, you could qualify. All right, how we doing? Questions? Questions? You got the chat. Ask questions, take advantage. Did you know that California pays more than any other state in financial aid for college? So, California is kind of amazing because California spends a lot of money to help students go to college. Unfortunately, sometimes, it's still a squeeze to get as much as you need. And I'm hoping that, that gets looked at and more aid will be offered. But right now, California is a good place to be for financial aid. Remember, you can apply beginning October 1st when you're a senior in high school. So for you current seniors, hopefully everybody applied already. If you haven't, you still should. And if you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, just remember when you're a senior, you're going to apply October 1st, your senior year. So we have a lot of information on our website about the different kinds of financial aid, because it's a lot of information. And you may want to look and see what are the specifics about some of these things I've been talking about. So if you go onto our website, and that's the California Student Aid Commission website, we have information about all the different programs, how you qualify, what you can get, what you need to do, etc. So you can check that out on our website. So how much campus aid can I receive? So campus aid really is, we also call that institutional aid, and it's money that comes directly from the college or the university. And so it's just another part of the financial aid you can receive. So we talked about federal aid, we talked about state aid, and now there's aid that comes directly from the colleges. So let's just take a look at that real quick. Oops, maybe not. I thought I had another slide. Well, maybe it'll come up in a second, but you can get money from the universities that you attend. That's not necessarily a Cal grant or a Pell grant. All right, so this is actually one form of aid you can get at a community college. It's called the California College Promise Grant. And all you need to do is apply with either the FAFSA or the California DREAM Act application, one or the other. And then apply online at the community college for the Promise Grant. And you could get your per unit enrollment fees waived. In other words, you're not going to have to pay to go to school there. Now, you're probably going to have some other incidental costs, but at least your fees will be waived. Most colleges, many colleges now in the state of California are free if you meet the requirements and you're a California resident. So if you're thinking about going to a community college, jump onto that community college website and check out the California Promise Grant. It'll have additional information. If you're a high school senior, you should absolutely check out the website because you probably need to apply. Now, the other thing that you can get at a California community college is you can be incentivized to take classes that make you a full-time student. In other words, if you're a full-time student and depending on how many units you take, you can get extra money. Why do they do that? Because they want you to get into the community college and hopefully finish in 2 or 2.5 years. So you don't want to be in the mode now. And again, sometimes this isn't possible, but you want to try to avoid going to a community college and being there 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. We see that actually quite often. And that's not really a good mode to be in, right? So you want to get to the community college and try to get out of Dodge in a couple years, hopefully with your associate's degree, and then either start working or jump to a 4-year college to get a bachelor's degree. It really depends on what you want to do. But if you're a full-time student, you can get more money. So you can get up to an extra $4,000 a year if you take 15 units or more. So that's a good thing, right? All right, here we go. This is what I was looking for earlier. There's other money, like I said, that you can get from CSUs or from the UCs, and they're called state university grants or the Blue and Gold Opportunity Plan. And typically these will help cover your tuition and fees as well. So when you fill out your application, you're going to come up with a number that shows you what your financial need is, and financial aid is supposed to cover that need. So assuming that you have need, you can get a lot of different things. If you go to a CSU or a UC, again, you can get additional funding directly from the college. You can also get free financial aid from outside sources. What does that mean? That means that there are lots of private scholarships available from a number of different places, right? So these websites on the right, FastWeb, scholarships.com, Big Future College Board, Immigrants Rising for our undocumented students. These are all websites where you can go and say, I'm interested in trying to get a private scholarship. When should you start this? Well, it's never too late to start, but I say that you should probably start looking your junior year at some point, because normally to apply and to get aid, you need to fill out an application, maybe do an essay, maybe get letters of recommendation. So there's a process, and each one of these is different. How much money can you get? Well, it depends. I've known students that get an extra $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 just in this type of free financial aid. Okay, so you want to make sure that you check these out as well. You know, it's time consuming. It's a little bit of work on your point, but it's probably worth it in the end. So where can you find these private scholarships? Well, you can find them on the websites that I just showed you. You can also check with the financial aid office at the college. Check with your high school counselor. Check with local businesses like banks and credit unions. And check, for example, where your parents work. A lot of times there are scholarships available from private companies, unions, etc. And then, like I said before, online sites like FastWeb. Now, the one that I really like that I think is really cool is this scholarship. It's called Stuck at the Prom. And what you do, this is crazy, right, is if you make your prom outfit out of duct tape with using Duck brand duct tape, you can win up to $10,000. It's crazy. That's the grand prize. And look at these pictures. So you can imagine how long it took to make some of these fantastic, beautiful outfits. It's crazy to me. But there's, like I said, there's a scholarship out there for everybody. So check it out. All right, so we're going to talk about some different things. I just want to reiterate what a Cal Grant is. A Cal Grant is money from the state of California that you don't have to pay back, and you can use that to go to college, right? So why do you want a Cal Grant? Well, one, it's a lot of money for school. I mean, obviously. Two, like I said, you don't have to pay it back. And a Cal Grant will pay, up to 4 full years of money at a college if you're eligible, and you're attending a college that's Cal Grant eligible, which is most colleges in California. All right. How do I get one? Easy. You apply with either the FAFSA or the California Dream Act application, one or the other, and you'll automatically be given consideration for a Cal Grant. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. But just remember, Cal Grant, free money for college. I want one of those. What do? You apply with an application when you're a senior, beginning October 1st, prior to March 2nd. Now, I'm going to reiterate, if for any reason you have not done an application yet and you're a high school senior, you should still complete an application. Talk to your counselor, contact us, fill out an application. We're past the deadline. So unless you had some, extenuating circumstances, then you're going to have to, you're not going to get a Cal grant this year, but you could apply for other types of aid. So what does it take to get a Cal grant? So the first step is fill out the application. Like I said, the FAFSA or the California Dream Act application, and you have to have a corresponding GPA. Okay, you have to have a corresponding GPA. Now, normally that means your high school is going to upload the GPA, so you don't have to necessarily worry about that. Okay, so these are the key elements that you need. When you have that, you'll be given consideration for a Cal grant. Now, sometimes when you fill out an application, you may not remember this, but I'm going to tell you because it's one of the reasons that people run into problems. And when you fill out an application, you want to make sure that your name is correct. So normally you want your name to match whatever is on your documentation. So if you have a driver's license or a school ID, birth certificate, whatever you have, you want that name to be the same name that you're using on your financial aid application. If you have a social security card, that's probably the name that you want to use, right? All right, so everything is fixable. Just be really careful when you're filling out the application, whenever that is, to make sure that your name is accurate. Don't use your nickname, right? Oh, but everybody calls me Lefty. No, Lefty, don't do it. Don't do it, Lefty. Use your real name, all right? And that way you can make sure that you get financial aid, because I've seen some crazy names on these applications. We don't want that. So when is the easiest time to get financial aid? So honestly, it's the year you graduate from high school and then the year after graduation. That is your window of opportunity. When you graduate from high school and the year after you graduate from high school, remember that that's the easiest time to get a Cal grant, right? That's the easiest time to get a Cal grant. So you want to make sure that you're applying. You want to try to get into college. If for any reason you apply and you're accepted, but you don't end up going, you can actually put your Cal grant on hold, but you'll need to do that. So make sure that if that's something that's happening with you, you want to make sure that you put your Cal grant on hold. But the better alternative is to go to school, go to college. Hopefully colleges are going to open back up. There are signs that that's going to happen. And obviously that would be great if it does happen. So make sure you apply. If you're a high school senior, hopefully you applied already. And if you're not a high school senior, remember every year, October 1st, write that down. You're not going to write it down. Plug that into your phone. October 1st, you want the alarm to go off. Oh, what am I supposed to do? Oh, that's right. I have to fill out my FAFSA or my California Dream Act application. All right, let's continue. So I talked about GPAs. GPAs are really important, okay? GPAs are really important. Why? Because not only are they important to get into the college that you probably want to go to, but they also impact your financial aid, right? So here's a little chart, and this shows you the income ceiling for different family sizes. And it also shows you the minimum GPA that you need. So the minimum GPA you need for a Cal grant is a 2.0, right? The minimum. And if you don't have a 2.0, then you're probably not going to be eligible for a Cal grant at least the first year. But we're going to assume that you have a 2.0 or hopefully even better, a 3.0 or higher. But look at the family size and then look at the dollar amounts. So your family probably falls somewhere in here based on family size. Now let's look at these two students and see if they're eligible for a Cal grant. We have Kayla. She has a GPA of 3.1. That's good. Family size is 4. Excellent. And the income is $67,000. So when we look, she's not going to be eligible for a Cal Grant B because the family exceeds the income, but she will be eligible for a Cal Grant A because she has a 3.0. You see why it was important for Kayla to have a 3.0? Otherwise, she wouldn't have gotten a Cal Grant. Now look at Robert. Robert has a 2.87. That's pretty good. Family size is 6, big family, and the family income is $99,000. So we look at 6 or more. So 99,000 is too much for Cal Grant B, but it's okay for Cal Grant A, but what's the problem? Look at Robert's GPA. What GPA does he need for a Cal Grant A? 3.0 or higher. So is Robert going to get a Cal Grant? The answer is no. Why is this important to you? Because GPAs are important, right? And we take your GPA, I'm going to repeat myself, from your sophomore and junior year. And that's why you want to have a minimum 2.0 and preferably 3.0 or higher on your unweighted GPA, so that you have every consideration for all the different kinds of Cal Grants. Okay, I don't want to scare you, but this is a thing. And you can find this information on the California Student Aid Commission website, and you can look at it. And you could ask your parents, hey, how much do we make? Oh, we make $52,000. Okay, we're a family of 5, 52,000. All right, we'll qualify for A or B depending on my GPA. All right, so that's good information for you to take a look at. And remember, GPA, it's a thing. So let's talk about the difference between the FAFSA and the California DREAM Act application. In the state of California, we have two different applications. They're both exactly the same in that they're applications for financial aid, but they serve different people. All right, so let's take a look at who fills out which one. So we're going to start with the FAFSA, or the CADA, which is what we use to reference the California DREAM Act application. And remember that you one-stop financial aid starts with these applications, one or the other, right? So you want to make sure that you're filling out the corresponding application, and that's where you're going to get the vast majority of your financial aid. Remember that you're going to have to provide probably information from your family, right? Financial information, and it's always from 2 years prior. So in other words, if you're going to be in college in 21-22, that's your first academic year in college. The application opened October 1st of 2020, and the tax year information will be 2019. Excuse me. Now you don't, have to worry about this if you're not, if you're a senior, hopefully you've already done this. But just so you know, the information that we look at is from 2 years ago, the taxes that your parents did. If your parents didn't file taxes, you can certainly still apply. So like I said, we have two different applications. We have the FAFSA, we have the CADA, right? And one of them is the federal form for federal financial aid. And that would be for people who were born in the United States, or who are permanent residents, or who have become US citizens. And there's some other requirements you can use to fulfill that. And the CADA is mostly for our undocumented students, right? So you're going to fill out one or the other. Remember, they're both just applications. They both do the same thing. One is not better than the other. They just serve a different group of students. So who can apply with the FAFSA? US citizens, legal permanent residents, though certain designations of refugees and those who've been granted asylum typically, and T visa holders. So, the refugee status and the asylum status and the T visa holders, not very common, but certainly they could pertain to some people. But if you're a US citizen or you're a legal permanent resident, then you would fill out the FAFSA. Who can fill out the California DREAM Act application, or the CADA? If you're undocumented, if you have DACA or you don't have DACA, it doesn't matter. Either way, TPS status, which is temporary protected status, U visa holders, and you have to meet some requirements called AB 540, which you can certainly contact us and we can explain that to you, or you can talk to your high school counselor and they can go through those requirements. But if you're not sure and you're undocumented, then you're going to fill out the DREAM Act application. All right, I'm going to give you some helpful tips. Hopefully they're helpful. So in the college selection, when you're filling out your application, you can list up to 10 colleges that you want to attend. If you're not sure where you're going to go to school, we recommend that you list one college from each segment. In other words, put a community college, put a CSU, put a UC, put a private. Why would you do that? Because that way you can see the financial aid that you can potentially get from each one of those schools. Sometimes you say, I'm going to community college. Well, that's awesome. Community colleges are great. But then you get back your financial aid information. You go, wow, I could actually go to a CSU because I'm going to have enough money, right? So I'm not saying that CSU is better than community college. I'm just saying that when you put all the different school segments on there, you can see how much you're going to get, and maybe you have some options. All right. If you're going out of state, be sure to list at least one California college. Why? John, I'm going to go to college in Reno, Nevada. Okay, that's excellent. That's great. List at least one California college. But John, I'm going to be part of the Wolf Pack. I don't care. List at least one California college. Why? Because you need a backup plan. If you list at least one California college, you'll be given consideration for aid in the state of California. I have nothing against the Wolf Pack. I have nothing against Reno, Nevada. They're awesome. But if you're going out of state, that's great. There's great schools all across the United States, but list at least one California college, okay? Remember, you have to select a housing plan for each college. What does that mean? Well, you have to say, are you going to live on campus, with your parents, or off campus? So most of the time, those will be pretty easy, right? If you're going to community college nearby to your home, you're probably going to live with your parents to start. That's the normal thing. You may not, but you're going to pick one for each one. But John, I have 37 colleges that I'm super interested in. 37. I can only list 10. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? No problem. You list 10, you wait a week or so, then you go back into the application, you take off the previous colleges that you had listed, and you can add 10 more. And you can do that as often as you want, but we recommend you wait a week or 10 days so that it processes through so you can add the new colleges. So you can certainly add more than 10 colleges, all right? So list the 37 colleges. Yay, you can do it. Just make sure one of them is a California school, all right? Let's talk about special circumstances. Hey, stuff happens that can impact your ability to go to college, and that can impact your ability to pay for college. It's normal. Parents get divorced. COVID-19, a lot of people have lost their jobs or are not able to work as much. You've had unexpected expenses. In California, the last 3 or 4 years, we've had these horrific wildfires. Sometimes families lose their homes. All these different things can happen. And when they happen, you have some recourse to be able to adjust your financial aid. And so what you would do, and this is always the answer, your parents get divorced, maybe somebody dies in your family, you lose your home, parents lose their job, whatever happens, what you need to do is contact the financial aid office at the college that you're planning to attend. If you're not sure about the college that you're planning to attend, you can contact the 2 or 3 that you're most likely to attend. And you could say, hey, I filled out my application, but I just found out, my parents just separated, and that impacts our income. Okay, so yeah, that's an issue. You want to talk to the college because they can actually do something about that. I gave you some helpful hints. Remember to apply to at least one California college, regardless of your income, apply. Try to use an email that's not a school email. In other words, if the school district has given you an email, you probably want to use a personal email. So create a Gmail or a Yahoo or Outlook, or I was going to say AOL, but I realized that none of you are 100 years old like me. So, AOL, what is that? Oh, I could tell you stories about AOL, but I'm not going to. So create a personal email. In fact, maybe create a Gmail for the application, the FAFSA or the DREAM Act, and applying to all the different colleges. That way you have all that information in one spot. Isn't that a great idea? You're going to create a Web Grants for Students account. So if you've already done your application, you're a senior, Google Web Grants for Students, and it will take you to the page to create that account. That's your portal for state aid. And finally, please don't be afraid to ask for help. Please don't be afraid to ask for help, right? So you want to make sure that if you have questions, you're asking those questions. There are so many people willing to help you through this process and willing to answer your questions. So you've got your counselors, you have people at the colleges in the financial aid office, you have the California Student Aid Commission, you have everyone who's involved in the organization that's hosting this event today. All of these people are willing to help you, but you know, if you need help and you have questions, you have to ask. Please don't be afraid to ask questions, okay? Questions are good. So there's a lot of things that can go sideways when you fill out an application. If you completed a FAFSA or a California Dream Act application in the last 3 or 4 weeks, but you haven't received an email confirmation, you probably need to go back into that application and see what's going on. So maybe you forgot to do something, maybe you forgot to sign it. Now there's one thing that's kind of weird, I'll just mention it. If you are a FAFSA filer, but your parents don't have social security numbers, and that's a really common situation in the state of California. Not a big deal, except if you file a FAFSA and your parents can't create that FSA ID like you did, that means you have to mail the paper signature page. And while that paper signature page is going to, I think, Kentucky or wherever it's going, and until it processes, you're kind of in a holding pattern. So if that's your situation and you go, I haven't gotten any information, unfortunately, you're not going to get any information until that paper signature page processes through. If anything else is weird going on with your application, or if you go, I filled out the CADA when I should have filled out the FAFSA, or I filled out the FAFSA when I should have filled out the DREAM Act application, or whoops, I filled out the one for the wrong academic year. Any of those things, contact the California Student Aid Commission or your counselor, and we can help you fix it, all right? I know this is gonna be hard for you to believe, so sit down, take a deep breath, but let me tell you something. Sometimes people make mistakes. What? Yes, it's true. So if you made a mistake on your application, the good news is almost everything is fixable. You just have to contact us and let us know. So I talked about web grants for students, and you want to make sure that once you have filled out an application, either or, the FAFSA or the DREAM Act, you're going to create this web grants for students. Why? Because if you get a Cal grant, it's really important. There's things that you need to do. All right, there's things that you need to do. So if you have questions about how to do that, contact the California Student Aid Commission. We will walk you through it. It's not that hard. This is kind of what it looks like. And what's cool about it is it gives you all the information about your Cal grant or any other state aid that you're getting. So maybe you have a Chafee grant. Maybe you have a Cal grant B for foster youth. Maybe you have, I mean, there's different kinds of state aid you can get. All of it's going to be on here. And it will show you information about how much aid you're getting, the percentage that you've used, the school that you have listed as your school of attendance, a lot of good stuff. So you want to make sure that you're filling out, you're doing the web grants for students, and that you have an account, because there's a couple of things that you're going to have to do. One of them is you're going to have to confirm that which college you're going to. So that's something you have to do on the website. Again, questions about that, we can help you with that. So we have a lot of Cash for College events. Now, typically they only go until March 2nd, but if you're going to be a senior in the next year or two, be on the lookout for these Cash for College events. They're really helpful, because if you're going, I have no idea how to fill out this application, and my parents have no idea how to fill out this application. Cash for College events are great because we can walk you through the process, right? You can log in, and hopefully, you know, when we start up again, we're going to start doing some of these in person. That's our hope, because it's so much easier. And frankly, it's more fun to be in person and be walking around, and you guys can raise your hand and we can go, what are you doing? And then we can fix it. That's more fun. But in the meantime, we're going to have virtual events until that happens. But remember Cash for College, especially for you juniors who will be filling out an application beginning October 1st. So we have social media. It's fantastic, right? We have all the big ones. And if you want to, you can check out my my MySpace page. It's really interesting, very exciting. I made it 27 years ago. I'm kidding. Nobody has MySpace. Nobody has that anymore. But if you want to engage with us on social media, you can. We have TikTok coming soon. I have 12-year-old twin daughters, and it's all about TikTok. And they say, Dad, you have to watch this. And I go, do I? Do I? And then I do. So engage with us on social media. Here's the websites that we've been talking about. So the first one is the California Student Aid Commission website. There's a lot of good resources. Hey, this would be another great time to pull out your phone and take a picture. What? Because you're not going to write it down. I know you're not going to write it down. So take a picture with your phone. When I tell a student, write this down, and I say, hey, here's a number 2 pencil. What is this? What is this artifact that you've handed me? Is this from an archaeological dig? No. So take a picture. These are the websites that you need. First one is the Student Aid Commission website. The second one is the DREAM Act application website. And the last one is the website to do your web grants for students. Those are the 3 that you need. All right. Are you guys clicking? Click, 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 click. You can take a picture and post it on social media. Wow. You'll be so popular. You'll get at least, I don't know, 7 likes, maybe more. Okay, you guys. This is corny, I know, but it's true. It's cheesy, but it's true. It's cringy, but it's true. You guys are the leaders, and in order to be leaders, you want to get an education, and we are here to support you in that effort. So plan on going to college, plan on staying in college, get enrolled in college, stay enrolled in college, do what you need to do. It's so important to your future, to your family's future. A lot of you are first-generation students, maybe the first one in your families to go to college. Can you imagine how crazy important it is to be the first person in your family to get into college and to graduate from college? You guys can do it. And that's all I got. That's all I got. So I think we have a minute. I want to thank you guys for your patience, for hanging in there. And we still have the chat box. Stephanie, we can still put some questions in there, right? If they have questions.
Yes, the chat is open for any questions, if anybody on the topics. I actually do have a question. There haven't been too many changes recently, but is there any potential upcoming changes to any of the financial aid options in the near future? I know like the schools are all over the place with requirements, but
there's gonna be some changes. So they're talking about some different things. The actual FAFSA application will be changing, and then when that happens, the DREAM Act application will change as well. The other thing, oh, okay, let me go back. The other thing that that's going to change is that there's a lot of legislation now to try to expand the windows of eligibility for different programs. So for example, maybe 3 years of eligibility coming out of high school instead of just the normal 2. Expanding the dollar amount. So there's a lot of talk also about consolidating the Cal Grant program. So we're kind of in a wait and see mode, Stephanie. That's a really good question. But certainly we have a governor who's very pro education, I think. And, once we get past this COVID situation and, the economy picks up, I think we're going to see some movement and some different things happening.
Would you say your website is the best place to kind of keep updated on those changes, or?
I mean, it's certainly one place that you can keep up on. I like to, go, if the students who are interested in a particular college, I would always go to their websites as well. Go to the financial aid section of their website. They get updated really frequently. The community college chancellor's office has a website called stayenrolled.com. So maybe Adrian or Yvonne, you guys can just put that in the chat. And it talks about getting into a community college and just a lot of really good information about, especially now, how to do distance learning at a community college. So there's good information. So somebody asked, can you show us the first or the fourth slide again? Oh, there we go. Okay, so let me just give me 1 second. Whoops. So let me go back here. So here's the information that you're probably looking for. So this is if you guys want to contact the Student Aid Commission during the week. you can call this number or you can send us an email. If you've already applied, for example, you could say, hey, what's my status? What's going on? I haven't heard anything. So Chelsea, that's a good question. Is the annual award amount on the, yes, it is accurate. It's up to date. So if you go on the CSAC website, there's information about the current award amounts for this upcoming college academic year. All right. Stayenrolled.org. Yeah, do you guys see that in the chat? Stayenrolled.org. Really good website if you're thinking about going to a community college. A lot of good information in there, and also a lot of good information about financial aid. So check that out. All right, any other questions?
One thing that we have a lot with, especially like our seniors, as they start hearing back from colleges and getting their financial aid award letters, they feel like maybe they should have been awarded more money by the schools. Can students petition or get their FAFSA reviewed to see kind of what issues are? What's the best place to go to, directly to the college offices or through CSAC?
Yeah, so especially if there's like we talked about before, if there's something that has happened, you fill out an application using financial information from 2 years ago, and a lot can happen in 2 years, right? So if there's something that's happened, you absolutely need to contact the college that you're attending. My dad lost his job. My parents got divorced. We had really high unexpected medical bills. Whatever. That's a good reason. If you just think you should have gotten more money, then maybe it's an error in the actual application, right? So first log back into the application, make sure those dollar amounts are right. And then I would contact the financial aid office at the college. You could certainly also contact CSAC if you think something's wrong. We can help you as well.
We have a couple minutes, so if anybody else has any questions, again, please put them in the chat. Now's a good time to answer them, either to everyone or directly to John. We're happy to get them answered today. I know financial aid is a very popular topic with students, but sometimes not knowing what to ask at the time. But
come on, you guys, try to stump me. You can do it. You're like, no. All right. I know you still have questions. I know you do, because I do this for a living. So what I want to point out is on the screen, we have the information to contact the California Student Aid Commission. And when you roll out of bed Monday or Tuesday morning and you go, man, what the heck? This is a good place to ask those questions. So financial aid letters. So normally when you apply to a college, they're going to take the information off your application. And sometimes you'll get a hard copy letter. Sometimes you'll get an email. Sometimes you'll get both. Sometimes you have to create a portal for that particular school to see your financial aid. But each one of those colleges is going to say, here is how much financial aid you can get with us. And they're going to break it down. You can get state aid, you can get federal aid, you can get a loan, you can get this. And a lot of times it looks like, like a pie chart, right? Or they'll have it listed out. That's what the financial aid letters are. So that's going to show you how much financial aid you can get from each college. And it can take a while, and you don't get them all at the same time. If you feel like you should have gotten something already, if you're a senior, it's still early, but you can contact the college and say, hey, where's my money? Please. The middle school to do, oh, okay. All right, so let me just. Okay. Is this the one you wanted to see, Chelsea? Or somebody? Okay. Do SAT scores affect financial aid amounts? They affect the schools you can attend. So kind of in a roundabout way, they do. Also, if you're using an SAT score in lieu of a GPA, for example, you're homeschooled or you went to a school that was not accredited, then that can also impact your financial aid.
I think you missed one question up a little bit higher from Chelsea too.
Oh, do we need to accept, or is that the part of our admissions automatically? So there's the acceptance process. I mean, so typically what happens is you fill out an application, financial aid application, you apply to the colleges, you hear back from the colleges that you've been accepted or not. And then you're going to get a letter that's going to talk about your financial aid. And usually there's a drop dead date that you have to accept, you know, that you're going to go there and that you're going to obviously get that financial aid. When it comes to Cal Grants, you do have to go into your Web Grants for Students and claim, which means you have to verify the college that you're going to be attending. So hopefully that answers your questions. Thanks, Yvonne, for putting that on there. All right, you guys, we got a couple more minutes. I want to earn my money. Come on, work with me. All right. Okay. I think they're all questioned out.